How's it going, beings of the universe? My name is Waffles, and welcome to Gay Day, a podcast made by and for LGBTQ plus youth. If you read the title, then you know today's episode is all about that sweet, sweet childhood. I think when we are kids, we take childhood for granted. Because childhood, when you think about it, is pretty much the best time of your life. You don't have to worry about anything. Your main thing you do all the time is just play and have fun. And you don't have the crippling anxiety and stress of social situations. Childhood is this golden, golden moment. And when we lose it, and everything just turns to shit. And one of the things I like to think about childhood is the fact that when you're a kid, sexuality and gender and all that shit, it doesn't really matter to you because you're just being you and you're just having fun. The only reason sexuality is ever even thought about for kids is because we push the idea that you have to meet this quota of marriage and love. We push that onto children and then give them ideas that they have to do this. We put into their mind that if you don't fall into like a nuclear family, you're not right. And that's just so messed up. It's not good. So, for today's section of Let Me Be Queer, representation in the media, we're going to be recognizing One Day at a Time. Now, this show, I just cannot stop singing my praises about it because it's a really good show, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. You can catch it on Netflix like I did, and yeah. It has an openly gay character that actually has a whole segment about how hard it is to transition and come out, and that's awesome. Not to mention, it has a POC cast. It shows the real struggle of trying to figure yourself out and coming out. Not to mention, it also is funny, but can keep serious topics like mental health and deportation and sexuality and all that stuff and still keep it serious. It doesn't use that stuff as punchlines usually. And that is so good because it treats mental health as a serious situation. It keeps the idea that sexuality, figuring yourself out, is a serious situation. I can just not stop singing my praises about the show. It is wonderful. Please check it out. You will love it. Next segment. What are straight people? What do straight people do to tick me off this week? I'm just gonna talk about straight people when it comes to kids, especially babies. Like straight people. What the fuck? Seriously, when it comes to babies, straight people go fucking insane. It's so strange and surreal to me because like you will have straight couples when they are expecting and they find the gender, they will have things known as gender parties where they like do pink for girl, blue for boy and all that shit. And they're just getting so fucking elaborate. Uh, I remember reading about some of these. One couple who really liked baseball, what they did was they got balls full of like a condensed powder, and they hit those with bats, and the powder would explode, revealing if it were a boy or a girl. Another couple, this one is really funny to me. They they are really big fans of guns, especially automatic rifles. So what they did was they filled a box with the powder of the baby's gender based on color again, pink for girl, blue for boy, I believe, I don't know. And they shot their guns at it and it exploded to reveal the gender. And here's the funniest part. They paid an actual photographer to go out with them and do professional shots when they shot these boxes. And that is so funny to me. Like, holy Christ on a bike. What the fuck, straight people? How far are you going with this shit? Like, most people do what, is just like cutting cake and the frosting on the inside reveals shit. But like, even that, the decorations and like the way they're talking about it is just so fucking weird. Like, is he a tractor or a pretty princess? And then they cut the cake to find out. Like, the decorations are really weird. That is just, it's just strange to me. Like, gay people probably do it too, I'm pretty sure. But like, I'm seeing a lot of straight people do this, and I'm just baffled. And this isn't the only part of this segment. No, no, no. Straight people, I want to come after you, for baby clothes and the designs they have. Um, I have seen full body baby suits on pictures. I looked this up to prove my point, and with me, I have a list of, different sayings that were written on them. These are all real. I need a woman who can handle my load, with a picture of a woman and a laundry basket, like 1950s housewife. Lock up your daughters. What? uh, Straight people taking back the rainbow. Okay. Oh, and this is from the same people. It's a faggot thing you wouldn't understand. Why? What? I am confused. Then we have I heart boobies, ladies man. I pretend Christian Grey is my daddy. And 9 months ago, my mommy read 50 Shades of Grey. I am confused. Why are we putting sexual things onto baby clothes? Seriously, a lot of straight people will be like, oh, gay people, they'll over-sexualize our kids and ruin them. And then they do this shit. It's a faggot thing you wouldn't understand. What the fuck? Why? I want to know why. I pretend Christian Grey is my daddy? What the fuck? I cannot make this shit up. This is real, and straight people are putting their kids into these. What is going on with you? You need to calm down. You guys are insane. But seriously, when it comes to babies, why is it that straight people have to go fucking nuts? Yeah, this is like a human thing. Gay people probably do this too, but a lot of straight people I'm seeing are doing this. Again, I don't want to overgeneralize and say that all straight people are like this, because I'm pretty sure I'm hoping some of them are actually not insane people who put over-sexualized sayings onto babies, but like, I'm just seeing a majority. Or I'm either seeing the majority or a very loud minority. You can comment down below and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be wrong. But Jesus Christ, when it comes to babies, why do straight people have to go fucking nuts about them? They go crazy. Like, they're always, like, getting down to, like, the level of a kid when they're in a stroller, and they're always like, oh my god, he's so cute, I could just eat him all up, What the fuck? And then, one thing I really hate, people who say babies are cute, okay? Babies are not cute, especially newborns. If you think a newborn is cute, that's your opinion. But you should know you are wrong, because it just came out of that Poontani. It will look like a bloody potato. It is not adorable. I do not like babies. I think they're ugly as fuck. But like, if you think your kid's cute, that's fine. Just realize, literally nobody fucking cares. Like, oh god. this is just becoming a spiel of why I don't like babies, and I want to talk about childhood. So, let's move on and talk about cartoons, because segues don't exist in this podcast. Cartoons. They're great. I love them. Cartoons are awesome, and I really am inspired by them. So much so that when I grow up, it is my plan to get a degree as an animator from California Institute of the Arts. That is my dream school. That is my dream job, to work as an animator. I kind of, I kind of want to work the sort of original Rebecca Sugar plan, where like I work in this animation industry by day, and then in my free time at night and such, I work on my own comics and my own stories and stuff. Hopefully, if I can finish a fucking story and I can pitch it, maybe I could live the dream of having my own cartoon featured on TV. Like, that's the fucking dream. That just sounds awesome. But like cartoons, when you're a kid, cartoons are everything to you. And I don't care who you are, you need to understand that cartoons are hard to make and they are really fucking cool. Um, Other than cartoons, puppets? Those are pretty cool. Okay, I don't want to sound like that one creepy guy you have in your class where he's just in the corner with a ventriloquist dummy who's just like, "Hi, my name's Timothy. Would you like to meet my puppet, Joseph?" Like, nah, I don't want to be that guy, but like puppets are pretty cool, actually. Especially light-based shadow puppets. Well, of course it'd be light-based. Well, shadow puppets are pretty sick. My school recently did this thing where Polish people, showed up, and what they did was they had a workshop where they taught the drama students, which I'm part of, they taught us how to work shadow puppets, and we broke up into groups and each told our own stories and rendition of La Llorona, the Weeping Woman, because apparently there are a shit ton of different stories. My version, the correct version, is like where it's this beautiful woman with 2 kids and a husband. The husband goes and leaves to sleep with the whore. La Llorona finds out and in her anger throws her kids into a lake and they drown. Then, after realizing what she does, she throws herself in and she dies. And then her ghost is meant to go over the lake, continuing to look for her children, and she keeps weeping, my children, where are they?" Yeah, that's pretty great. Also, I love that my group that I was in, I literally led it and I called it the horror group, because I'm telling the story with the whore that the husband sleeps with, and like nobody really cared about that. But seriously, it was so fun to work with these professionally trained shadow puppet people from Poland. Alliteration is fucking sick. Um, but yeah, they were so cool. They kept stopping their sentences to make sure that words they used were words used here. Like, they thought we didn't have panorama as a word. And then we were like, no, it is. And they were like, okay, cool, let's continue. They're really sweet people, and they were really cool. And it was really fun in that workshop, because I love puppets. Puppets are so fucking fun and cool. And speaking of puppets, old kids television with, educational puppets, that shit is fucking weird when you grow up, okay? I just recently went back and watched the intro and like an episode on YouTube of that one educational show, Between the Lions, which was a puppet show that taught you how to read and shit. And like, I couldn't, like, it was so fucking weird. Like, I believe drugs were used for that shit. Like, kid shows are just fucking strange, especially when you grow up, because they would, like, this puppet show that was meant to teach you how to read and shit. They had like these different segments where it was like told from storybooks, and that was the whole gimmick, where each different segment was like a storybook. Um, and then, like, after rewatching these, I was like, holy shit, I have a ton of repressed memories. Because they had these segments that I remember getting upset as a kid. There was one called The Adventures of Cliffhanger, where it's this guy, and he's stuck on a cliff, and, to get down, he has to spell out words. Um, but then by the end, he somehow gets thrown back up onto the cliff. And I just remember being a kid and just being super anxious. And then he gets out and I'm like, hooray! And then he gets back up and I'm like actually angry because I'm like, oh, what the fuck? He got down! Let him be down, you shitheads! And like, that anger came back. Like, when I watched it again, like, as a teenager, I was like, holy fuck, those cartoonists and actors, those writers are fucking dickbags. Seriously, let the man go. Then they had this really weird segment where it was like these two asshole kids and a goose, and the goose would try to save the kid's life, and then the kids, they would get out of the trouble and situation and shit, but then the goose would get hurt. I remember being actually upset as a kid because I was like, hey, maybe these asshole kids should be the ones to get hurt and not this goose, because this goose is a fucking saint. This, like, I'm actually getting upset again because, like, I'm now remembering that this goose in this show that I'm getting upset for, I'm getting upset over a kids' TV show, everybody. That is fucking great. But, like, this goose would always get hurt, and these asshole kids would get away from the situation because the goose helped them, and they wouldn't help the goose. Fuck you, little kids. Why don't you get hurt? I don't know why, but, like, I'm just angry. But yeah, that show, In Between the Lines, we watched some seriously fucking weird shit as kids. And, like, I don't think it's really changed for kids programming. Just today, because I wanted to prepare for this podcast, I watched some kid shows on Netflix. And I watched this one called Sarah and Duck. And I don't do drugs. But after this show, I wanted to. Like, this is a show that you can just make up anything for context, and it'll be so much fucking funny because it's such slow pace. It's so weird. It's a British cartoon, so you already know it's very softly spoken and very light. And it's about this 7-year-old girl who somehow lives in a house with a duck on her own, and it's just so fucking weird because when I was watching it, I was like, where are your parents? Like, I didn't know she was 7 at first, and I was like, okay, well, what if it's like this, excuse me, what if it's like this, grown woman who's very softly spoken, who has this duck? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, she's 7. Why does a 7-year-old own a house? Who's paying them bills? And why does she have a duck? And then, like, it just kept getting so weird because in the first episode, she plants seeds and grows, like, shallots, and they have faces, and they hop around and talk, and and you never hear from them again in later episodes. So I was like, holy fuck, this 7-year-old girl fucking ate them. She ate talking shallots. And I was fucking losing my mind over that shit. Like, this is a show that if you fucking watch it, you have to make shit up for it to make sense. There is this one neighbor she has, known only as Scarf Lady, who knits and does shit. And, like, because if you're gonna watch it, you need to make shit up, I was like, okay, the Scarf Lady. She's a murderer who's led this 7-year-old and her pet duck into her house so she can murder them and knit their corpses into scarves like she did with her husband, who is a talking pile of yarn. Yeah, there's a talking pile of yarn in this episode. Like, I don't know why. She also has a bag that talks. I'd like to believe that's either her husband or her child, that whose soul is just embedded into this bag because she's a psychotic satanic murderer. Like, I'm making shit up for this, and it is so fun. Like, kid shows nowadays are just so fucking weird. Kid shows way back then were, like, weird too. Like, even before my time. Oh god, I sound like an old man. But, like, old cartoons, I fucking loved those. And then I watched Danger Mouse, and I really loved them, because what the fuck? Like, I watched a few episodes of that on Netflix today, and I'm an instant fan because A, it's really good animation style, B, the characters are endearing and charming. It's just so weird and so good, and it's so gay. Like, I'm sorry, it's gay. Danger Mouse and his partner are obviously not only partners at work, they fucking live in the same house. They sleep in the same bedroom in separate beds. They are homosexuals. They are a married couple, and you cannot take that away from me. I am so messed up. Oh god, what else? But educational TV. I strayed off far from that, but educational TV. Shit like The Electric Company and Martha Speaks and all that PBS bullshit. There was a Cat in the Hat television show where they taught you science. And I just remember that being my shit as a kid. Like a little kid Bewoofles was just like, fuck yeah, Cat in the Hat. Eat my Eggo with peanut butter while I watch this before going to school. Yeah, this is the good life. That is the good shit. And I I rewatched it because I was sort of babysitting. I was watching a group of kids because they were paying me at like this church event or whatever. And basically I watched an episode of The Cat in the Hat Halloween special, and they were talking about fear, and like I just watched it and I was like, Jesus Christ, animation, what the fuck? Like, it's I'm not really a huge fan of like flash puppet animation. That is not my thing. I think if you use it in like some segments where you're telling like a side story, that can be done really well. Like, puppet animation can be done really well when it comes to Flash and shit like that. But when it's like an entire show on its own, I'm not a fan. Because like it was like all I could think about were, wow, keyframes and pre-programmed movement that they just put into like its own program and just throw that on, like, go animate. I don't like this. The voice acting is meh, the stories are meh, but like little kid me didn't know any better. Little kid me was like, Cat in the Hat, two kids, they get taken from their parents to go on an adventure, please go on. And it's so weird. Like rewatching, like when you rewatch childhood shows, it is so fucking weird, especially the educational ones where they want you to get involved and learn and talk and shit. I I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. But like when you're a little kid, you don't really care. You don't care that Dora takes like 5 minutes after asking you whether she should go left or right. And it's just when you're an adult, when you're older, not an adult, because teenage, queer youth, me, you're just like, okay, go left. Left. You fucking Chinese bitch, go left! That's a reference for you fans out there. But yeah, educational TV. It's so fucking weird. And it's so funny when you actually really listen to it and put your own context to it. Like I said, Danger Mouse, he's gay and is dating his partner. And then, like, I see shit where I'm like, I want to put my own context into this. Like, for the Cat in the Hat reboot show, he is actually a psychotic homeless man who drugs and kidnaps these kids whose parents are neglectful alcoholics, and he takes them to a weird sex dungeon where he does shit to them, then returns them to their home by the end of the day, and the neglectful alcoholic moms that these kids have don't know shit. Like, that, like, if you want to enjoy kid shows when you're older, you gotta put some fucked up context into that shit. Because otherwise, you're just listening to some boring ass shit that makes barely any fucking sense. There are some really good educational kid shows that hold up to this day, like, for sure. Like the original Magic School Bus. Holy fuck, that is some good classic shit right there. I remember when I was a kid in elementary school and the teacher would roll up this TV or put it on the projector and it would be the Magic School Bus and I'd be like, fuck yeah. Yeah, let's do this shit all day. But like the remake, here's the problem though. They're remaking a lot of the old kid shows instead of doing original shit. And it's terrible. The new Magic School Bus, again, it's puppet flash animation. It's fucking terrible. I don't like it. Apparently the story is that Miss Frizzle's retiring and her sister is taking over. I don't fucking know. But like, no, stop it. You're killing it. No, stop it. Stop it. Oh, God. Kid shows are fucking weird. They're really weird. Educational shows are fucking weird. Everything when you're a kid. When you're a kid, everything's like normal. Like, talking to animals, kids who run away from home. Yeah, that's normal. Go on. I'll have my juice box. But when you're older, you're just like asking more questions. Like, what? Does Miss Frizzle have permission slips, or did she just do like a whole contract at the beginning of the year? Why don't the parents ask more questions about the Cat in the Hat? Why was Nanalan in her backyard tripping some massive balls, obviously, while her grandma was like the only caretaker? What happened to Nanalan's parents? Like in later episodes, Nanalan has a mom who drops her off with her nana, but like in the beginning, Nanalan definitely was like, I feel like Nanalan was an orphan, and the only reason they gave the mom character in the intro was because they wanted there to be like people to stop asking questions. Oh my fucking god, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. You can't talk about childhood shows without talking about the fucking Teletubbies and Boobas. What the fuck? Teletubbies, I have learned that their costumes are 10 feet tall, and that the actors had to take frequent breaks because they were airtight, and if they didn't take the heads off after a certain amount of time, they could risk death from carbon monoxide. That is fucking true, and I am losing my shit over it. I also learned that there was a huge controversy that the Teletubbies were pushing a gay agenda because I think it was like either Tinky Winky or Po was a man who carried a purse. That was a real thing. Straight people were worried that these 10-foot tall baby-faced fucks with TV screens on their bellies were pushing kids to be gay. Speaking of gayness and the Teletubbies, I found out that one of the actors starred in a lesbian porn. So, that's a thing. I also saw recent pictures of the baby son today, and, I gotta say, age has been a meh thing for them. But it's not just Teletubbies. They were fucking weird, but they were not on the level of the goddamn Boobas. The Boobas, if you don't know, are basically baby faces that are brightly colored. They are covered up from the nose down with fat, fuzzy bodies, and their show is basically teaching 3 to 4-year-olds how to move and exercise by dancing around. There is no real dialogue in it, only sounds and flashes of color and light. When I was a kid, this was fucking terrifying. And it's still terrifying. Who thought the Boobas were good to show to kids? That's just fucking confusing to me. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god. Because I don't have segues, let's talk about Disney villains, because we gotta have some gay shit in here, and Disney villains, they're gay, they're queer, they're on the spectrum of the LGBTQ plus community. Let's just agree. Ursula is a strong lesbian woman. The Queen of Hearts, strong lesbian woman. This is quoting my drama teacher because I brought this up. She says, if Scar were human today, he would be this effeminate man with painted black acrylic nails who owned a condo that had a gym that he worked out in daily, and he would go down to local gay bars to scope the scene. And I have to agree. Like, Scar is totally fucking gay. Like, seriously. You can't lie to me about that. He's gay. They're all gay. And you wanna know why they're gay? Because homophobia. You see, when television and movies were really becoming to grow because the picture was growing, gay people, they were pretty minute and they were okay. Like, there is, like, proof of, like, women who are super cute and cuddly and kissing, and men who were dancing together. There's footage of that shit. But then the straight people, especially Christian propaganda groups, were like, what's that gay shit? Get that out of there. And they passed a law where you couldn't have queer characters in television or film unless they were a villain. And more often than not, they would always get killed. if you wanted to be gay in media, you had to be a villain, and you had to mostly get killed. And Disney was no exception to this. And so, when Disney had villains, they would make them super effeminate, very out there and queer and shit. Like, for example, let's look at Captain Hook, a man who wears pink, is super, super flaunty and, like, extravagant. Who knows what he's doing with Smee in the back room, I'm just saying. Then you have Scar, obviously, all like, oh, whatever, always checking his nails because a bitch gotta look good. And then Ursula, her design is literally based off of a very loud drag queen of the time who was popular. And the worst part is that it continues to this day. In Wreck-It Ralph, you have King Candy, who says it's not pink, it's salmon. He has a lisp, he's obviously super effeminate, he's a fucking gay king, okay? He's a king. A drag king. But yeah, like, even nowadays, Disney villains are like super queer and out there, and it sucks. But it's also great because villains are fucking cool. Like, in all honesty, I relate with the villain more than I do the hero. And I like the villain more than I do the hero. Because the hero is just an asshole who's like, I gotta do this because it's for the greater good and I'm good boy Joe. Whoa! And then the villains actually have very complex backstories of why they're doing this shit. Like abandonment, loathing, hatred, being kicked out. In the original story of The Little Mermaid, where Ariel turns to Seafoam, which according to my art teacher when we talked about this, because I talk about this shit outside of a podcast, my art teacher said, quote, this is quoting my art teacher, by the way. He said, when Ariel turns to Seafoam, you should know that the ancient Greeks thought that Seafoam was Neptune's jizz. And all I could say to that was, wow, you are an interesting, well-read human being. But anyway, when it comes to villains, in the original version of The Little Mermaid where Ariel fucking dies, Ursula is like King Trident's sister who gets thrown out pretty much because she's a powerful woman. And that just makes me fucking angry. Because she was pretty fucking out there. She gets thrown out. Literally, Disney movies put up this facade of like black and white, good and evil, and it's fucking terrible. There's motivation to the things these people are doing because they're lonely, because they were hated. And I relate to the villains and like the villains more because they're pretty much in their own right a good guy. Like Scar. Literally, he wants to be king, right? But like then his nephew is born and it's like, fuck. Well, this sucks. And here's the thing, Mufasa's kind of racist. Because like he keeps the hyenas away and they fucking starve. And Scar's like only promise is that, hey, hyenas, if you help me be king, then you won't starve. And he actually follows through with that and isn't lying when he says that. Like, the hyenas don't starve, they just don't eat in moderation. And like, there's no fucking reason for Mufasa to be a dick and not let the hyenas live equally to him. He's just a fucking asshole. Oh yeah, and you gotta love, like, literally before Mufasa's death scene, Simba had an entire song wishing he was king, and then he got his wish and he's fucking sad. Hey, you little shit. This is what you wanted, right? Well, here's your wish come true. You're fucking king now. I'm a fucking terrible human being. One more thing I want to bring up. Hades. Like, Hades, this isn't even just a Disney thing. Hades, people think he's a badass. He's not. Like, he's recorded as being the most level-headed, calm god ever. He's recorded as the most boring god ever. Because he's a fucking nerd. Like, seriously, Hades. If there were train sets in the day and age of Greek, he would have train sets, build train sets, and talk about those train sets at parties. The gods think he's pretty boring. He is the most faithful to his wife. He has a fucking garden and gives flowers to his wife. And, like, he follows the rules. Like, he literally is one of the most level-headed people. And, like, the only reason a soul could ever get out is because his wife told him to let the soul out of hell, out of, like, the spirit world. It was literally just a conversation like, but babe, the rules, I can't let them out. Then, like, his wife was like, oh, come on, please do it for me. And he was like, okay. Like, if Greek gods existed in this day and age, he would wear Crocs with sandals, have a fanny pack by his side, wear an open Hawaiian shirt with a white t-shirt, and have sunglasses on. And he'd have, like, barbecue cookouts, have a neat lawn. He's a fucking dad. He is the suburban dad. Hades is not a badass. And in Disney's Hercules, Hades is faithful to his wife, yeah, but, like, you gotta agree. Hades and Hercules, honey, gay, homosexual, real gay. And, oh my god. I just don't know why, but, like, this has always bugged me since I learned about, like, Greek mythology, because everybody's like, oh, Hades is so cool. No, he's a fucking nerd. Okay. Before we leave, personal story, I guess. I was a pretty happy kid when I was young. I had no reason to be sad or upset. But then I got intensely bullied. Now, I'm gonna save bullying stories for another episode because it should be its own serious thing. However, you should know, I was bullied and labeled as the weird kid. And then I was exiled by children because they were fucking mean little cunts. And, I felt super lonely. And when it came to figuring out my sexuality, that did not help because I was already in a vulnerable stage. My mental health was not the greatest, and then my sexuality was like, knock knock, homosexual, and I just couldn't deal. I had, very early on when I was a kid, I had, depressive thoughts, mood swings. I, actually, went into, like, a ton of suicidal thoughts and self-harm, and it sucked. My childhood, it was a brief moment of happiness before shit got fucked up. Here's the thing I miss from being a kid. I miss cartoons. I miss playing on playgrounds. I miss my daily levels of serotonin. And I miss a lot of my stuffed animals. Yeah. Serotonin, stuffed animals, cartoons, playgrounds. That's what I miss from my childhood. Really miss that shit. Moral of the day, let kids be kids. Don't be a fucking dick to your kid and teach them that everything should be gendered and shit. Like, let Timmy play with a doll if he wants. Maybe he'll grow up and be a caring nurse or doctor. Maybe he'll work at the retirement home that you're gonna inevitably go into, Dave. So don't be a fucking dick, because then he'll grow up to be a dick. Like, kids are smarter than we think they are, and they can understand a lot more. So we shouldn't really be cushioning them with that shit. We should just be teaching them to be good people. And, yeah, don't be a dick about gender or sexuality. Don't be super focused. Just let them be them. This entire fucking podcast is a mess. Anyway, I'm Waffles. This has been Gay Day, a podcast made by and for queer youth. Be sure to check out my other episode, and, yeah. I'll be here next week to talk about some more shit. Comment down below what you think I should talk about. Like this video, subscribe, and, share, and I'll see you later. Peace.